Uh, this is no ordinary crash. This is the Dubai Mirage crash. What's a Mirage crash? Is it different than an ordinary crash?
Well, obviously, mirages happen out in the middle of the desert,
Oh yeah,
famously.
right.
And we've all seen those films where somebody gets lost in the desert and they see the mirage of the oasis
Oh yeah.
and they go running through the desert toward it. And then
Mm-hmm.
an hour later, they're still running toward it. And then they're crawling toward it and
Oh yeah.
begging
So
for water.
the whole development in the Mid East is a big mirage.
Well, that's what they're saying because the Dubai Stock Exchange is down 75%. If you take a look at this chart, it's
yeah.
comparing it to the S&P 500 and the FTSE. As you see, they're down only like 40%.
Oh, it's terrible.
Just a mere 40%.
75%. My God, that's horrible. While property prices in the region rose 59% in 2008, HSBC research found that property prices fell by 23% in the fourth quarter alone.
So, well, this Dubai story is, now they're one of the biggest banks, Shua Bank in the UAE, is forecasting falls of house prices of 60% this year. And now, to put that into context, 63% of all properties in the UAE are owned by foreigners. Well, this global Ponzi scheme that we saw in the last 10 years of this global housing bubble. You remember The Economist wrote about that, I think it was in 2003. Because I remember reading it during the invasion of Iraq, is they talked about the global housing bubble. It was the first global housing bubble.
Right.
And it was a global Ponzi scheme similar to the South Sea bubble in that, you saw on these property shows is like, well, the prices have already tripled in this area. So in order to get those same sort of returns, you've got to go to this new area. This is going to triple now. If you want to triple your money or quintuple your money in 1 year.
Right, let's go to Krakow.
Yeah.
Let's go to Estonia.
Exactly. That's what they were doing. And this is what Dubai was happening in Dubai. And the other important ingredient, of course, in the South Sea bubble was the fact that the king had endorsed this, the shares in this company, had endorsed the plan. And the same thing, especially with Dubai. You saw Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt bought one of the islands on that island sort of a building plan.
The artificial island in the middle of the Gulf.
Yes, all of these footballers like David Beckham had bought places there. I'm sure many of them, were probably given these properties in order to put their, cool factor on this. So going back to Dubai, as these house prices are crashing, like I said, 63% of the property there is owned by foreigners. And it was only like 10 years ago that foreigners could even buy property in the UAE. So all these foreigners are, many of them actually bought like 2 or 3 places. Of course, those are likely to be British people who are like property speculators extraordinaire, and they're now fleeing.
Oh,
According to the headlines, like Brits give new meaning to the term long-term car park. They're showing up at Dubai airport, and it's very hard to leave these Gulf nations. You have to get an exit visa. So you have to kind of appear like everything is normal and you're just going home to Britain for a visit family or something. So you park your car there, keep all your belongings there. It makes it look like everything is normal. And in fact, they have no intention of coming back because their debts are too huge and they can't pay the 3 or 4 mortgages they have there and the car loans and all the costs of living there. So they're just abandoning their cars, their apartments, and everything in Dubai and fleeing.
They're doing a runner.
They're doing a run. Because right now they're saying that they've found 3,000 cars at the long-term car park that were abandoned. So 3,000 families will have left. But something like 3.5 million expats live in Dubai. Obviously, a lot of them are just workers who live in those camps.
It's an amazing number. I mean, what percentage of the population?
I think it's somewhere between 80 and 90%.
That's amazing.
It's the highest percentage in the world of any nation.
Are just temporary carpetbaggers who now need an exit visa to get out of town, and they're going to be trapped in the middle of a scorching hot desert with their freaking Range Rover, and no way out. And they face, under Sharia law, jail.
Exactly. If you bounce a check, for example, you do get thrown in jail. So if you bounce 5 apartments in a car, I don't know what you get.
Uh-oh. We head down to the Klaus Concord. You get the chop chop.
Yeah. I would flee now while you have a job. Do you know what I mean? Because if you lose your job there, which many people are, I think it becomes harder to exit. I think they'll be more suspicious, especially now that 3,000 have already fled their debts. I'm sure, it is a monarchy, and they do have like eyes and ears everywhere. So they'll be keeping an eye on any Brits leaving.
They're gonna put one of them RFID tags up their schwing.
It's gonna be actually more the people who look upper middle class or had managerial jobs. They're more likely to be stopped than the Bangladeshis going back home, because the Bangladeshis aren't going to be leaving behind any debts.
You're gonna get like a GPS monitor stapled to your collarbone. You're gonna be like that Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom show. Remember that gold guy with the mustache used to hunt down the buffaloes and hit them with a dart gun and staple them with a monitoring tag? That's what it's going to be like there. All these British people are going to be hunted down by bounty hunters, hit with a tranquilizer dart. They're going to stick a GPS monitor, staple it to their earlobe. And they're going to be wandering around trying to find some water in the middle of the desert, being monitored from outer space.
Well, as a consequence of this global financial crisis.
Yeah, baby. Talk to me.
Dubai, remember, Sheikh Mohammed, who runs Dubai.
Sheikh Mohammed.
He was very well known, wasn't he? Everybody around the world.
I had him over for dinner the other night. The guy has an appetite like a horse.
He was kind of the darling of the whole glitterati crowd and the British property speculating crowd, and really allowed Dubai to become like a Las Vegas of the Gulf region, which is a very conservative religious area. He managed to make it seemingly work as this, or it was a mirage. Now, apparently, like according to what we learned on the Oracle a few weeks ago, we had an insider who said that, in fact, the whole Dubai did go bust. The property companies did go bust. Air Emirates did go bust. And that Abu Dhabi has been bailing them out. Now, the latest stories this week are that, Abu Dhabi just injected $4.3 billion into their top 5 banks, but they only did it into the Abu Dhabi banks and not to the other Emirates. So the cost of insuring Dubai bonds soared as everybody feared that Abu Dhabi was not going to bail them out. But so I went to the internet and researched some of this to try to find out who rules Abu Dhabi. Because Abu Dhabi is a name that has really started, they kind of were outside the spotlight. Everybody only focused on Dubai. And nobody really thought about Abu Dhabi until last year, that the name Abu Dhabi always kept on popping up because...
Sounds like Fred Flintstone. Abu Dhabi do.
They had the $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund, right? The biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world. So it made me curious, because we were researching the project for Al Jazeera about sovereign wealth funds. I was like, what the heck is Abu Dhabi? We went to Abu Dhabi, and it's kind of very sleepy. You go to Dubai, and it's crazy. It's like, it makes Vegas look like a quiet backwater. You know what I mean? It was pretty extreme. So, Abu Dhabi seemed like the poor cousin to Dubai. On the surface, Dubai looked like the successful rich one.
Right.
And Abu Dhabi, the poor one.
Right.
Because Abu Dhabi basically has just one giant white mosque that they built with their money.
Yeah, that's where they stuff all the gold bars.
So I was looking at the ruler of the country, the emir of Abu Dhabi, is Sheikh Khalifa, and he's also the president of the UAE. Now his son, Sheikh Mansour, is the guy who bought a 16% stake in Barclays. The other 16% being bought by Qatar.
Okay, well, let's go back to this Abu Dhabi-Dubai thing. So you're saying, basically, that Dubai is the glitzy place that looked like rich, but the real money's in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but I'm just saying that this mirrors what you see all over the world, which is that typically people with a lot of wealth don't flaunt it.
Yes.
That's why they're wealthy.
Well, I grew up in Connecticut, and it was only later that I found out, my friend Tiffany Bingham, I didn't know, her Tiffany was actually her last name, like Tiffany Fortune. She was the Tiffany family. And, I mean, they did have a big house, but it wasn't like anything you see in Dubai.